I call the member for Longman.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, today we find ourselves on the cusp of what should be the happiest of times, the annual festive season, with its celebration of love and harmony and prosperity. A time to pull our families closer, to be thankful, to do good to others. But tragically, this Labor government has meant the numerous families will end the year as they began, with their hope dimmed and their aspirations crushed. The dual, blunt instruments of Labor's economic policy, overtaxing and over-regulation, will leave, in too many cases, little spare cash for Christmas. This should be a time for small business, the lifeblood of our economy, to enjoy rest and recreation from the fruits of their hard work. But it is difficult to find any gift inside the swathe of government-enforced red tape. Why is this federal Labor government so intent on killing our economy? Mr Deputy Speaker, what sort of crazy logic seeks to justify the jettison of a $20 billion surplus down the gurgler to the point of a staggering net debt of $147 billion? It is the biggest debt in Australian history, and we, the Australian taxpayers, are now paying almost $20 million a day in interest to serve it. In any regular Australian family, the hard-working, forgotten families of our nation, that degree of money wasting would be beyond comprehension. It would be beyond the remediation of the world's best and brightest in the financial and counselling world. But, Mr Deputy Speaker, let me share with the House some more jaw-dropping figures to chew on over Christmas. Under the Howard government, annual average GDP growth was 3.7%. With Labor recklessly at the wheel since 2007, GDP growth has fallen to just 2.4%. Inflation, just 2.4% in the Howard years, but now increased to 2.9% under this federal Labor government. Growth in retail turnover has shortened to 4.2%, courtesy of Labor. Under the Coalition, it was significantly higher at 5.7%. And building approvals grew by 14.6% in the last year of the previous Coalition government. This Labor government, due to its economic ineptitude, has presided over an extraordinary slippage, a 10.6% decline in building approvals in the past 12 months. Mr Deputy Speaker, last week I met, as I have many times before, the human face of Labor's attack on hard-working and individual enterprise, as I visited small businesses in my local community with the Shadow Minister for Small Business, the Honourable Bruce Bilson, the member for Dunkley. These businesses are the proud Queenslanders, beacons of hard work and true believers in hope, reward and opportunity. But under this federal Labor government, spirits are flagging. They continue to hope, but so long as Labor lingers, they confess to wonder, is it hope against hope? I know a small shop owner in the suburb of Burpengary. How tight will his Christmas be when he's coughing up an extra $1,300 a month in Labor's carbon tax bills? Then there's the trucking and haulage operator from Caboolture, himself pursued relentlessly by the rising refrigerant costs. While back in Burpengary, increasing overheads and reduced profit margins are cruelling the ambition and lifestyle of a popular coffee shop owner. This local business is desperate to hire more staff, but thanks to Labor's over-regulation and inflexibility in the workplace, he's too afraid to do so. Let me be very clear about this. The Coalition gets small business. Many of us, before entering politics, have been there. We know that small business is the pulse of a healthy economy, for not only does it perform a vital role in itself, but a prosperous small business sector reverberates in waves across our society. In short, a crippled small business sector is tantamount to a nation going backwards, not forwards. However, a re-elected Coalition government would once again champion small business and drive it to new horizons. We will scrap the carbon tax to reduce the spiralling power costs that small businesses now have to pay without any compensation. We will cut red tape by $1 billion each year and implement a comprehensive deregulation agenda. We will simplify the administration of superannuation reporting, allowing small business to remit compulsory super payments for workers directly to the tax office. The ATO would then be responsible for disbursement to individual superannuation funds. We will establish a genuine root and branch review of competition laws to ensure that small and big business can compete on an equal footing. We will support the rights of independent contractors and family business by extending unfair contract protections to small business. We will ease the paperwork burden by moving the administration of the National Paid Parental Scheme from small business to the government's Family Assistance Office. We will reduce lawlessness in the workplace by re-establishing the Australian Building and Construction Commission. And we will build better infrastructure, with a special emphasis on lessening the bottlenecks on our gridlocked roads and highways. These initiatives will lift productivity, cut compliance costs, and help small business men and women of Australia share in the hope, reward and opportunity of a once again proudly aspirational nation. A coalition government will aim to double the existing rate of small business growth, adding 30,000 new small businesses every year. We will champion small business to the hilt because we know that is where people get a start in life. Entrepreneurship is fostered and innovation happens. Mr Deputy Speaker, Labor still sees fit to demoralise this very fabric. Labor looked the Australian people squarely in the eye and promised there would be no carbon tax. As the countless small business owners and hard-working families across my local community know, there is a carbon tax. Labor vowed in its workplace relation changes that it would not be a cost burden to employers. Another deception of the Australian people. Various alterations to modern awards under the Fair Work Act have resulted in some businesses experiencing labour cost hikes of up to 15%. Labor promised there would be a one-in and one-out approach to regulation, but instead we get more dodgy labour accounting. The reality is that there have been 200 regulations in for every one out. Mr Deputy Speaker, that's 20,884 new or amended regulations for the repeal of only 104. Additionally, Labor's superannuation changes have created a nightmare of paperwork and bureaucratic red tape for small business. This after it assured voters that no, it would not be tampering with superannuation arrangements. But ironically, Mr Deputy Speaker, we have seen one concentrated area of focus on small business from the other side of the chamber. In last year's mid-year economic and fiscal outlook, the government handed the Australian Tax Office an extra $390 million for new compliance activity. Now, how's that for some Christmas cheer? $390 million so that the Tax Office can chase up outstanding income tax lodgements from an already cluttered, confused and often just scraping by small business sector. Mr Deputy Speaker, I knew the Labor Party had small business on their mind at some point. It is little wonder that small business startups have dropped by 95%. The number going bankrupt has risen by 48%. Today, there are 11,000 fewer small businesses employing than there were in 2007. As we pause to reflect this Christmas, let us be mindful of Labor's past year and its gift of a concerted attack on hard-working Australians, while keeping the Coalition's politics of opportunity and aspirations in our sights. For here is where there is light and there is hope, and even more than that, practical solutions for the problems facing our nation. The Coalition represents encouragement over subsidy, offers a hand up rather than a handout. We are for smaller and more efficient government. We fight for lower taxes. We believe the individual's right to choose is paramount. The Coalition is about respect for all Australians and respect for their hard-earned income. As I said in my maiden speech in this place, I believe governments don't have any money of their own, they only have the people's money held in trust. We will not abide by Labor's waste and mismanagement. We will pay down debt, apply downward pressure on interest rates, wind back the operating costs for small businesses, and so ease the cost of living for every Australian. The key to a prosperous economy is to curtail spending and boost productivity. This Christmas, Australians are readying themselves for an upcoming federal election. They will ultimately face a choice between Labor's bad Santa, who plays a devilish hand with the economy, and the aspirational values and prudent fiscal policies of the Coalition. Mr Deputy Speaker, Labor will continue to promise this gift or that gift. The difference is, when the Coalition promises, it always delivers.